So this is an image that was sent to me by a viewer via text message. But what I want to draw your attention to is this middle part. It looks very similar to a piece that I have out front that I'm going to spray and lacquer up, and you'll see the similarities when we go out there. And the reason I wanted to bring these two things together is because I'll probably start doing viewer-driven feedback videos where I just bring together a collage of viewer-driven feedback. Because as you can see, she clearly found plasma fire. And for most part, people don't want to be associated. There's another example. Find my little pointer here, get us focused. And you can clearly see the burn-unburn line goes straight right here, up there, right here. But there's a lot of viewer-driven content that's been in my recent videos. And I expected this kind of thing to start happening much earlier on, where people would start saying, hey, I see it too, here, over here, or my neck of the woods. And she happens to be in a forest area that's the same forest connected to, let me try and get a little better focus, same mountain range with the same forest that's connected to Jacob's Lake, where I did the video called Fiery Sermon from the Valley of the Shadow. That's a little clearer. She sent me a few videos too, but they're rather grainy, so I decided to just show you the still frames. So what I can see here, let me try and back you out a little bit. And get the whole image in here. The tree is unburnt from here up, completely unburnt. Right here it hollows it out. This is an unburnt limb sticking out this way and an unburnt limb sticking out this way. And if we zoom in right there, we can see the unburnt right next to the burnt. Here's the line of burn, unburn right there. Likewise on the other side, you can even see some unburnt wood down here and unburnt over here, but turned to charcoal right there. So such highly burned wood right next to completely unburned wood tells me with absolute certainty this is plasma fire. You can even see the unburned part of the tree right here. If this whole thing was still intact, it looks like right here, sticking out of the weeds. Maybe not, maybe that's a stick right by it. But there's no question that what she found here was plasma fire. And it's in the same mountain range near Jacob's Lake that I took near Flagstaff, Arizona. I'll include the link in the description. But remember this image as we go outside and look at the piece that I have in the front yard. The way it's burned the strip right down to a V shape at the bottom. And it even goes to a V shape on the top. And so, remember that burn pattern. Here we have the same basic burn pattern. It's hard to say which is top and which is bottom of the tree here. And when we walk around, you'll see that this one's actually burned all the way through. You can see the grass on the other side. And that it's got the same basic V-shaped pattern at the bottom here. And that it's see-through. So this essentially burned the same as the burn pattern she sent me via text message. And my recent video that was viewer driven, it included a very recent video by MB3 regarding the sun simulator. A very recent video by Last Messages regarding two suns. And a rather old video by Extreme Reality Check, but that was recommended to me very recently in the comments section. And by bringing these three together, it produces a synergy. And what I've noticed, it's like the transmission goes out from the source, and all the BioBot transceivers pick up the message and then translate it into their own words, videos, concepts, understandings. And so often, two YouTube producers will produce something very similar, and you wonder if one copied the other. And it happens so often that I've attributed it to that they all pick up the transmission from the source and translate it into their own video on a similar topic. And so when I find another truther that I start bouncing off of and start using them as an example in my talks, it's not to single anyone out. It's more often that we're both resonating on the same frequency and picking up the same understanding. So while I'm on the subject, Matt from Quantum of Conscience said in one of his most recent videos that any of these particular truthers that have their specific thing that they cover will see more of it where they look because they believe in it. And so the not-nilk system, the matrix we live in, will provide them more evidence of it. You can see the sun shining through right there, creating the shadow on the other side. And then he was kind of talking about mud floods, how people suddenly just out of blue, like 3 years ago, started talking about this great reset in the 1800s, and now the evidence comes pouring in everywhere. Poke, poke. Now the evidence comes pouring in everywhere for them, like the system delivers the evidence of whatever you see and believe, and he's essentially just magnifying law of attraction, where these strict believers in law of attraction say that if you believe it, you'll manifest it and see it in reality all over, because that's what you're focused upon. Which is essentially kind of a first grade truther thing, because that can only be taken so far. And my point in even mentioning any of these guys is that whatever advice they're giving you or synopsis of reality that we're going through, their truther cam is not taking into perspective, into account, the plasma fires, among other things, the moon on its back, the magnetic pole shift, all connected to one another. But just take the plasma fires alone. So when you're listening to one of these truthers and they're telling you their perspective on things, that perspective isn't taking into account the plasma fires. For example, Paul Romano of Pockets of the Truth. I showed how he had a picture in the background of burnt palm trees and that he probably didn't even know what he was looking at. And that's why in his breakdown, he included things like it's the end of the Yuga, the Kali Yuga, and the beginning of the next Yuga, or something to that effect, and referred to cultural changes that'll take place over the next 100 years, etc., etc. But when you know about the plasma fires, you don't tend to say things like what's going to happen over the next 100 years. It reorders your priorities of understanding. See what I'm saying? It kind of reorders your timeline, and other things take priority and precedent in a timely manner. So let's check out my other tree that I've been neglecting here. I'm just still working on this one, still need to peel the bark and everything else. So let's leave that one alone and go check out the big 10-footer. Because I got it all cleaned. I got to go move it to somewhere where I can get it into a facility to lacquer it up. That's the big 10-footer, all cleaned up. Pretty much ready for lacquer right now. I got to go put it under a tarp. But that was pretty cool, how the sun shines through it at all these different angles. Once it gets lacquered, it'll be tight. Doesn't show it on that side. So it's an unburnt branch that reaches out, but is burnt in the top and the middle. And this one has a spot there and a hole that goes down in here. You can see how thin this piece is here at the edge, that it's burnt it down to a real thin piece right there, but it still connects. Oops. Another branch, the other one was over there, that has the inside burnt. This one reaches out and does the same thing. And you can see the fine line. If it would focus for me. Maybe that's as good as it gets, but the fine line I'm talking about is right here between the burn and unburn. On the inside of the branch. Unburned all the way around on the bottom side. A hole burned in it right there, but only from the back side. A fine line between burn and unburned right there. So there's one, there's two. Here's the third branch that does the same thing. Burnt on the inside. We're gonna have better luck from this side. There we go. My camera skills are getting better, huh? You can see on the edge of the burn here, it only goes to right there and no further. Yeah, my camera skills are getting pretty good, I gotta say. See the straight line burn right down the middle here? If it'll focus. Okay, it's not right as I was bragging up my camera skills. How about on this other side? There we go. Straight line right down the center where the burn starts and stops. Look at that, even got the wiggle proof. You like that? The fine line burns are really what makes it and breaks it. So to be able to see those once it's lacquered up, this one will be a beaut. Look inside there. Hey, hey. Hey. Looks like it's pretty aired out. No more Keebler elves in there. No. Any Keeblers left? No. Pretty cool. And it goes up 10 feet. I'll have to turn it. Now that we've turned and stabilized it, you like my redneck truck? It's Pretty bomb, huh? Let's turn it around so I can show you the top part. Again with the fine line burn. Pretty sweet. That's as far up as I can reach. I kind of outdid myself on this one. You can see right up through the top. She's crisply clear to the end. And that's 10 foot, so the truck gives you good size reference. I don't know how I got this thing out of where I got it from, wherever I got it from. From here you can kind of see the beginning of the burn hole and how it follows the left branch and the right branch right there where it splits off at the corner. And has a little bit extra right here in the notch. This baby's about ready for lacquer. Either I need to buy a Wagner power sprayer or take it to my buddy's cabinet shop. What do you think? It's definitely going to trigger his normie defense mechanism, or he'll be like, okay, I don't really want to have anything to do with your stupid plasma fire, but if you got the money, because I'm going to throw the money down. Because I want to get them done up with a quickness. Woo woo! Whoa! Tree was falling. I still got to get the base leveled out. Yep, I outdid myself on this one. I gotta get smaller ones so they mail easier. But real quick, just before we move on to the next thing, speaking of mailing them smaller. Maybe it's not gonna show you because it looks more like shadow line. If I can turn the lighting up. Or maybe it's because I was looking at the wrong one, that would be what it is. Notice the burn line? Running right here. On the bottom of the tree like that, inside only. These places where it refrains from moving to the outside is what shows you a lot about how this works.